Hello and welcome to the third module of our Introduction to Aquaponics course. This module covers the various applications of aquaponics. So let's go ahead and start off with a little recap of the basic steps of aquaponics. Fish are raised in a tank. Water from that tank is then pumped into a plant growing area. Naturally occurring bacteria convert the fish waste into usable plant nutrients. The plants absorb that warm, nutrient-rich water and return clean water back to the fish. Before we jump into the different types of applications, let's go back over some of the systems we've seen and touch on the types of techniques that those systems are using. We saw Ili Ili Farms on Oahu. They are using the hydroponic technique known as deep water culture to produce all of their food on about 2 acres. And they also use an in-ground pond, taking advantage of the recirculating aquaculture aspect that we learned about in the previous module. Growing Power in Minnesota is using a combination of deep water culture and NFT, as well as recirculating aquaculture systems to provide all of the food to their customers. The Mental Health Center of Dahlia is also using deep water culture and NFT to grow out their plants and their baby plants in their nursery. They use a recirculating aquaculture system to grow their tilapia. The series Greenhouse is able to show us a variety of the growing methods in one picture. So we see the deep water culture in the middle there, and there is illustration of different types of media setups, and you can alter those different setups with NFT, with deep water culture, with drip systems, or with aeroponics. The tanks in the top of the picture lend to the recirculating aquaculture aspect. So these pictures are quite revealing in that there are a lot of deep water cultures depicted here, and that's because most of the success in aquaponics has been found with deep water culture as well as NFT principles. So as we go forward, take note of that. Most of the applications do utilize those two general principles. Let's start off the discussion of applications by going with aquaponics research. Dr. James Rakocy is the father of modern aquaponics research. His system at the University of Virgin Islands took a combination of hydroponics and his experience in aquaculture to hybridize and create our aquaponics industry as we know it today. So something important to understand is that his system utilized the deep water culture. So it could be that we also began the path of aquaponics using deep water culture. So it may lend to its own success just a little bit. So let's be mindful of some of these challenges as we go forward, that we don't pigeonhole ourselves into deep water culture because others have found success with deep water culture. Recapping the research done by James Rakocy in the late 80s and early 90s helps us give an overview of what it looks like to do aquaponics research, or what it means to digest that aquaponics research after they spend all the time going through that work. So there's a variety of different ways that aquaponics research has been presented. We see traditional news type articles, like that 1988 article. And we also see regional aquaculture centers or regional agricultural stations producing bulletins and newsletter. So the SRAC article on the top left helps illustrate what something like that might look like. The bottom left is another captured picture of an article from 1993 The two articles were taken with a picture because I was unable to find those digitally. So the reality is that some of the research that we have in aquaculture and in hydroponics is much older than the digital catalogs that we have. So it may require us to do some old school digging and utilize some of the technologies that we have today to hybridize what it is we're learning in the fields of aquaponics. So as you can see here, I've done the same thing. I had to take a picture of some of the articles that I had for two reasons. One, I wanted to show that researchers still get down and dig through the actual physical papers, but they also get in and post things digitally. So this 2004 article was done back in the day when we were not putting things online as much, but you can also find it online. One of the leading authorities in aquaponics research is a gentleman named Wilson Lennard. Dr. Wilson Lennard is from Australia and has done a lot of research in the field of aquaponics, stemming back from the early 2000s. He had done a lot of work, much like Dr. James Rakocy, using NFT and deep water culture methods to better understand hydroponics. So these two articles here give a general overview of the timeline of his aquaponics research. Some of the earliest work began when he was comparing flow rates in integrated systems back in 2004, and more recently comparing plant growth rates in hydroponics systems and aquaponics systems. Other areas of aquaponics research that are exploding lately are those by Dr. Michael Timmons out of Cornell University. So they do have an aquaponics short course, which is a multiple day, multiple hour course that you can take to get a little bit deeper dive into aquaponics. And we even see universities today producing production manuals specifically for this form of agriculture. So an important thing to take away from the aquaponics research conversation is that there's a lot of work that's been going on since Dr. James Rakocy's early work. I'm not sure if we remember Dr. Rakocy cheering. Well, seeing how so many else have joined in on this endeavor, I don't blame him for being as excited as he possibly can. There is a lot of work being done by the United Nations. So the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, is the United Nations agricultural arm. They're the ones that really take a look at this whole industry of agriculture and food. And they have most recently been able to develop a technical manual for small scale aquaponic food production in which you're able to repurpose um, common shipping materials and grow your own food. I have used a lot of this information to build a learning site here at Blooming Health Farms. We are trying to teach people job skills and job training in the field of aquaponics so that they can learn the life science and social skills that they need to become the future leaders of their communities. And I am extremely thankful for individuals like Austin Stankus for the FAO and the gentleman on the bottom left, Dr. Harry Ako and his colleague Clyde Maru, who were very important in helping others like myself become aquaponics researchers and go down in a path of becoming aquaponics farmers.